this year we've had some pretty bad luck with some storm chasing and mostly related to cars because one of the best tornadoes of the year, well, it just was the best tornado of the year for sure, down in southwestern Oklahoma, near Duke, Oklahoma, which is where my fiance's two of her grandparents live in Duke, Oklahoma, population like 400 something. So that morning, looking at models, I was texting people like, oh, I think we're going to set up in Duke. We might go say hi to this person, say hi to that person before we wait for storms to fire. And I don't even understand how we convinced ourselves not to do that, except that there was a kind of a bimodal threat. There was going to be like one towards the north of Oklahoma and then this one towards the south. So we were like, well, let's hedge in the middle, sit on the interstate, and then wait to see where storms fire and then go to wherever we need to go. So we started the day, and there were a couple storms, and we were following the northern storm for a little while. And then, what happened, Matt?
Got a flat tire. It's terrible. Well, it was right after we decided, okay, this Duke cell, or it was well west of Duke at this point, but it was starting to look good. Velocity was starting to pick up, so like, all right, let's go south. Let's go to this cell. And we stopped real quick just to like watch the cell we were on for a few more minutes. And I was like looking at hailstones.
And I just hear,
yeah.
And I was like, oh no.
That was so detrimental.
Matt went through all the stages of grief. He started with denial because he's like, well, how long do you think we can drive on this? And I'm like, I'm hearing it hiss air. You've got under 10 minutes.
I was fully planning on trying to make it down to the South Cell on flat tire,
well,
to be quite honest.
We barely made it a few miles before we had to. I mean, it was completely flat in a few miles.
But so we stopped to take off the flat tire and put on the spare, and it was actually really cool. The north cell did look good during that.
Looked
there was
really
a
cool.
low rotating wall cloud very close to us, so it was really cool, and it looked like it had a chance of maybe producing. But we could not get the lug nuts off of the flat tire. They were completely stuck.
Yeah.
And so Andrew started calling AAA to see if they could come. Because we were out in the middle of nowhere pretty much.
Well, it wasn't even the middle of nowhere.
It was a really small town
Yeah.
that we were by.
The problem is it was at an intersection, so we weren't at an address. And the lady on the phone, I don't know how she worked for AAA because clearly she doesn't know how maps work because she was sitting there, oh, what's the address? And I was like, all right. It's at the intersection of this road and this road. Pause. Okay, do you have an address? No, I'm just east of this town on this intersection. Pause. Okay, so if you're in Ohio, I'm gonna need to transfer you. No, I'm in Oklahoma. Okay. Well, what's the address on that? It was unbelievable. Like, I'm not exaggerating. It was probably a 20-minute phone call of me trying to tell her this intersection. Like, just look at the map. Just look at the map, put down a pinpoint. But anyways. So then, while I was doing that, this Good Samaritan came up in his truck and just looked like a true Oklahoma cowboy.
Oh, yeah.
Just happened to have an impact gun on his truck, just ready to go. So, got it fixed, but by that point, we didn't really have many good road options to get back down to the South Road. So, we were going as fast as we could safely on a spare tire and did not, unfortunately, get there in time. But after the cell that produced the tornado for so long had kind of gone to the east a little bit, there was a second cell behind it, and it had some big hailstones in it. I think, what was it warned for? Do you remember?
It was warned for like 2.5 inches, maybe?
Yeah.
3 inches?
I think it was 2.5 inch is what it was warned for. And like I said, my fiance's grandmother lives there, so we rolled up. She was just in her storm shelter, and so we parked the car in her garage and then got to watch the hailstorm come through, which ended up being a pretty good chase after all things considered.
Yeah, because her entire yard was covered by golf ball size hail or bigger. It was really cool watching it all fall. You're just standing in the garage with the garage door open, just watching it.
It was loud.
That was really cool.
Yeah, it was cool.
And then we tried to get back to Norman that night. We ate dinner at her house, left, but there was so much torrential rainfall that the roads were flooded, and we had no choice but to turn around and stay the night.
Yeah, which was tough because that week was my chasing vacation, so I was chasing every day. Every other day before that, I had taken a night bag because we were going to Iowa, Kansas, wherever. That was the only day of the entire week that I did not bring an overnight bag because I just thought, oh, we're going to be in Oklahoma. There's no way we don't get back home that night. And, yep, there it was.
A couple days later, on the high-risk day that ended up being...
Moderate. I think it was moderate.
Oh, you're right. Yeah, you're right. No, wait. That was the high risk, wasn't it? Or no, it
was
wasn't
moderate,
moderate.
yeah.
But it was
should have been high risk.
It was the one that everyone thought was going to be high
Yeah.
risk, which good thing it wasn't because it busted massively.
Yeah.
Good thing it busted massively because we were on a cell, got rear-ended at a stop sign, and it ended our chase right then and there.
Yeah, we were in like one of those classic lines of chasers, and there was this weird tornado siren. It was like, it sounded like a fart. It was one of the weirdest sounds I've ever heard come out of a tornado siren. So we were like, what is that? And then all we hear, like, we're slowing down as we get to the stop sign, and we just hear screeching behind us for an extended period of time. Like, enough that I had time to turn around to see where the screeching was happening. It was so long. I mean, the dude's brakes were so locked on this wet road. And then it was just like, bam, got rear-ended.
Take the second right onto Oklahoma 58 South.
We're like, dang, this sucks. Pull over, get out. The other guy's car destroyed. I mean, absolutely total. Matt barely had any scratches on his car. Like, literally no dents from this accident, which is crazy.
It was one of the most bewildering moments of my whole life when I look in the rearview mirror and see the entire front of this car who rear-ended us just crunched in. The headlights were broken. There was even a little bit of smoke coming from it. And I was like, oh, my car is done for. I get out, go look at the back, and I barely looked like anything happened. There was a little bit of red paint and a couple tiny little scratches, but that was about it.
So we're a little dazed, and we're just like standing outside looking at the damage, call 911. The police officer arrives. We're in a small town, Oklahoma, and this guy comes tearing through the parking lot, lights, sirens, and everything. Flies around the corner of this gravel lot straight into a ditch. I mean, it's like, you heard the front end just crunch the second that it goes into the ditch. It was unbelievable. And then as he was getting out, because his back right tire was in the air, like he had to be towed out of this ditch. And he didn't realize that I don't know how he didn't realize he was in a ditch, but he opened the door and didn't realize there was like 2-3 feet down to the ground. And so he just like falls out of his car as he's getting out. Oh, it was one of the weirdest couple of minutes of my entire life.
Oh, absolutely. It was crazy standing there outside my car watching this police car who's coming to help us drive into a ditch and get more damage than I had from getting rear-ended.
Thanks for watching. If you like this video, make sure you take a moment to subscribe and hit the bell button so you're notified every time a video like this comes out. And while you're at it, why don't you check out chasepal.us? That way you're able to connect with us over all social media platforms.